Have you ever written a romance that looked great on paper? Solid plot, good banter, but when you read it back, something just felt flat? Hi, I'm Helen, a writing coach and award winning produced screenwriter with an MFA in creative writing. On my channel, I teach you the craft of romance storytelling. Today, we're diving into Michael Hauge's story structure approach and how it can completely transform the emotional impact of your love story. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build love stories that don't just check the boxes, but make your reader feel something real. Michael Hauge's story structure starts with a truth every romance writer needs to hear. Your characters aren't just falling in love, they're transforming. Hauge teaches that every powerful story follows two journeys. The outer journey, which is the visible, plot-driven goal, what your character wants, and the inner journey, which is the emotional transformation, who your character becomes. In romance, the outer journey might look like this. A woman running a bakery that's in danger of shutting down. A man reluctantly paired with his ex on a work project. A wedding planner who's sworn off love, planning the wedding of her very first crush. But the real heart of the story is the inner journey. That's where the emotional magic happens. The baker isn't just trying to save her shop. She's learning that she's worthy of success and connection. The exes aren't just solving a business problem. They're confronting past hurt and rediscovering trust. And the wedding planner? She's shedding the armor that protected her heart and learning to risk it again. Let's take a concrete example, the proposal. The outer journey, a fake engagement to avoid deportation. But the inner journey? Sandra Bullock's character goes from icy, guarded to someone who lets herself be loved and known. That's the real story. That's what we remember. And Ryan Reynolds' character goes from a resentful employee to someone who finds the courage to stand up for what he truly wants. When your love story has both of these journeys working together, external goals pushing internal growth, you create that delicious feeling of yes, of course they're meant to be. Not because of fate, but because love was the catalyst for something deeper. So as you write, ask yourself, what does your character want and what do they need? Love is the space where they collide. Now that we've unpacked the two emotional journeys, outer and inner, let's zoom in even closer and talk about how to map these journeys across your story using Michael Hauge's 6-stage structure. Because let's be real, even the most swoon-worthy romance can fall flat if the emotional build isn't timed right. Structure matters, not to restrict you, but to give your love story rhythm, tension, and payoff. Here's the basic breakdown of Michael Hauge's 6-stage story structure and how it applies to romance. Step 1. Setup, 0 to 10%. Introduce your protagonist in their everyday world. This is their identity. We see the emotional mask they wear to protect themselves. In a romance, this is often where they're avoiding love, burned from the past, or hyper-focused on work/life. 2. New situation. 10 to 25%. Something shakes up their world. Enter the love interest. This is often your meet cute or first forced interaction. Sparks fly or fizzle, and the story momentum begins. Number 3, progress, 25 to 50%. The relationship begins to build. There are wins and charming moments, but the characters are still holding back emotionally. They might be pretending it's casual or fighting their feelings, but the chemistry is there. Number 4, complications and higher stakes, 50% to 75%. This is where things get real. The characters are starting to change, emotionally becoming more vulnerable, but the outside world starts throwing curveballs. Misunderstandings, secrets, or external pressures start to escalate. Number 5, major setback, 75 to 90%. The dreaded breakup. A betrayal, a lie revealed, a decision made out of fear. One or both characters retreat back into their old selves. It feels like the love story is over. 6, climax and aftermath, 90% to 100%. One or both characters take emotional action. They step into their essence. They choose love, not out of need or fantasy, but from a place of truth. Cue the grand gesture, the heartfelt conversation, or the quiet but powerful, I choose you. Let's use To All the Boys I've Loved Before as an example. Lara Jean starts in hiding, literally and emotionally. But when her private love letters are exposed, new situation, she fakes a relationship, progress, starts falling for Peter, complications, and then hits a wall when her fears and insecurities resurface, major setback. It's only when she fully owns her feelings, climax, that the love story truly lands. Hauge's structure doesn't just help you hit beats. It ensures your love story builds emotionally. And when that structure supports character transformation, that's when your romance goes from cute to unforgettable. So, we've talked about structure, but underneath all those well-timed beats, there's something deeper brewing. And this is where Michael Hauge's storytelling truly shines. Let's talk about what he calls the conflict between identity and essence, which is the secret ingredient to writing love stories that actually mean something. According to Hauge, every character has 2 versions of themselves. Identity is the mask that they wear to stay safe. Essence is who they truly are underneath, when they're free from fear. And in romance, that conflict between who they think they have to be and who they actually are is where all the emotional gold is buried. Characters often start your stories stuck in their identity. Maybe they believe they're unlovable unless they're successful. Maybe they think they have to take care of everyone else and never ask for anything in return. Maybe they don't trust anyone, so they keep it casual, even when their heart is all in already. But falling in love, that's a deeply vulnerable act. It pulls your character toward their essence, toward truth, connection, and risking everything. Let's bring this to life with an example. The photograph. In the photograph, May is polished, guarded, successful, and emotionally unavailable. That's her identity. She's inherited a kind of emotional distance from her late mother, and it's how she protects herself. Michael, a journalist, seems more open, but he also fears investing in something that might not last. He uses his career ambition as a shield. Their love story doesn't just unfold because they like each other. It unfolds because they challenge each other to step beyond their emotional defaults. May has to learn to trust love and let herself be fully seen. Michael has to stop running when it starts to feel real. That journey from identity to essence is what makes their romance feel earned and emotionally satisfying. So here's your writing takeaway. Ask yourself, what mask is your character wearing? And what would it take for love to gently or not so gently peel it off? Because that's what makes your audience not just root for the couple, but see themselves in the love story. So, we've explored how characters transform from identity to essence, but here's the thing. That emotional journey doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It happens through the relationship, through tension, through friction, through the push and pull of desire meeting resistance. And that is where conflict becomes the heartbeat of chemistry. One of the biggest myths in romance writing is that chemistry equals constant flirting, or witty banter, or steamy eye contact. And while those things can absolutely help, true romantic chemistry, the kind that makes you lean in and feel it in your chest, comes from emotional stakes. Michael Hauge reminds us that conflict in romance isn't about fighting, it's about challenge. Each character is consciously or not holding onto their identity to feel safe. The love interest shows up and threatens that safety. Not maliciously, but intimately. They see them, they call out their patterns, they stir desire the character doesn't feel ready for, and that emotional discomfort, that's the tension we love. In Brown Sugar, Sydney and Dre have been best friends forever. They vibe, they laugh, they understand each other on a soul level. But here's the conflict. They're both terrified of messing it up. They date other people, they deny their feelings, Dre marries someone else. The chemistry is electric because of unresolved conflict. The love is always there, but so are the obstacles. And every time they're in a room together, you feel it. You want them to work out already. You want them to work through it. So when you're writing your couple, don't just ask, what makes them cute together? Ask, what does each character challenge in the other? Where do they create friction? Not just physically, but emotionally. And how does that spark growth, desire, and fear? Because when love becomes the obstacle and the reward, your story stops being just romance and starts being real. So let's bring it home. Michael Hauge's approach reminds us that the best love stories aren't just about plot. They're about transformation. When you guide your characters through both an outer and inner journey, layer your story with emotional structure, and use conflict to ignite chemistry, you don't just write romance. You write stories that move people. Romance is a craft. And if you're here, that means you're ready to do the work. So keep going. That wraps up our 4-part series on story structure for romance writers. Whether you connected most with Romancing the Beat, Dan Harmon's story structure, Billy Murnet's 7 romantic comedy beats, or Michael Hauge's story structure approach, my hope is that you now feel more equipped to structure your love stories with heart, clarity, and confidence. Structure isn't a cage, it's scaffolding for transformation. And now you get to build something beautiful. If you're hungry for more romance writing magic, there's another video waiting for you on the channel. Click through and keep learning. And if you need help structuring your story, developing compelling characters, or just getting unstuck, I offer one-on-one coaching for romance writers. Details are in the description below. Until next time, love, Helen.